Hi and welcome to your Pilates studio. I've got a routine today that is going to be for opening your hips and stretching out your back, so different moves you can do. I've done it in a sequence so that it flows well, but if you want to pick out individual exercises that you feel help you or benefit you the most, then that's going to work for you too. So we're going to start round on all fours. So spreading the fingertips, bringing the wrists under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. And we're going to start with a cat-cow. So we're going to tuck the head, tuck the tailbone, push the spine up towards the ceiling on the out-breath. And then on the in-breath, we're going to lift the tailbone and lift the head. And again, tucking the tailbone, tucking the head, curling up. Inhaling as you drop down. Now if your back is really tight, I wouldn't drop too low into a cow stretch. Maybe come to just somewhere more neutral and then go back into the cat. We're going to do that one more time. Tucking the head, tucking the tailbone, curling up. And then coming back to the cow stretch. From there we're going to move to opening the hips. Now I have got with me a roller to lean on. It doesn't matter, you can use a surface or a table or anything like that, or a chair, just somewhere where you're not having to worry about your balance, okay? You want to focus on the stretch. From there we're going to bring the right knee out in front and we're going to turn the toes out so the knee goes a little bit wider than the hips. We're going to keep the hips facing forwards. We're going to come back and tuck the tailbone underneath, so we're curling the back into a little bit of a flexion, and then we're going to rock the weight forward, keeping that tailbone tucked until you feel a stretch on the left leg. When we're there, we're just going to take some nice full wide breaths. Just feeling that stretch, opening out that left hip. And we're going to take the left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Move back so you can see a bit better. So, still keeping the tailbone tucked, reaching the fingertips up. Taking some full wide breaths so you're not holding the breath or you're not letting the breath become short and sharp. And then we're going to take that hand over into a side bend, still keeping the tailbone tucked underneath, pushing the hips forward, but the stretch is going to come further up the side of the body now. Again, holding that. You want to be holding these stretches for around 30 to 45 seconds. I've not got a counter with me, but I'm just sort of doing it until I feel the muscles easing off. And then coming back up. We're going to slide that leg back. Just rock the hips to loosen that, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to bring my balance around here. Bring the left knee forwards now. Okay, taking the foot a little bit wider than the hips, and turning the hips so they're facing straight forwards. We're going to tuck the tailbone underneath, and then rock the weight forwards until you feel that stretch. I don't need to go very far to feel that stretch, and I doubt you will too. If you find that you're here, the chances are your tailbone is flipping away from you and you're arching your back, okay? So come back, tuck your tailbone, and then bring it forwards. Just until you feel that stretch on your right leg, down the front. Okay, nice and tall through the spine, settling your breath. From there, taking the right hand up towards the ceiling, stretching the fingertips up, but still keeping the tailbone tucked under. Now I'm a little bit tighter on this, my right side, so I'm staying here a little bit longer because it's taking a little bit longer for those muscles to just release and ease off. I'm going to take it over into a side bend. Again, I'm leaning on my roller so that I'm not trying to grip the muscles to balance. I'm just relaxing this, allowing the hip to open. Still pushing the tailbone forwards. lifting up and out of that. Bringing the balancer out the way, sliding the leg back, just rocking the hips. And then from there, going to the upper back with a bit of mobility with some thread needles. So picking up the hand, threading it through, trying to get the back of the shoulder down and the head. Inhaling to hold there. And then as you exhale, unthreading the hand, taking it up towards the ceiling. Placing that hand down, switching sides. Holding for an in-breath. Exhaling as you uncurl and thread to the ceiling. Doing that a couple more times to either side. It's a good one to do after you've stretched your hips, because this kind of rotation is much easier when the hips feel open. Coming down, inhaling, exhaling and unthreading. One more time to either side. Picking up, threading through, holding for an in-breath, and then exhaling as it goes to the ceiling. Last time. Threading through, inhaling to hold, exhaling as you take it up. Taking it into a little bit more of a shoulder stretch now. And keeping the shoulders loose will help with the upper back. So slide your hands forward, but leave your bottom over your knees, lowering your forehead towards the floor. Once you're there, if you feel your shoulders release, you can always walk your fingertips a bit further away to deepen that stretch. Again, just stretching and then settling your breath so that you're not gripping or holding. And then lifting the forehead up and pushing the weight down the sides of the body. So starting to stretch out the lats down the side, which will also help with your movement through your thoracic spine. Side to side. And then coming back to centre, lowering the forehead once more to the floor. Remembering that you can stay in and hold these positions and stretches as long as you feel comfortable, and if you feel like you still need to ease out a little bit. Okay, I'm feeling quite free through the shoulders, so I'm going to end it there. Bring my bottom to my heels, slide my hands back towards me. And then I'm going to do a slightly deeper stretch for the spine. So I'm going to walk the hands all the way over to the right hand side. I'm keeping my bottom in contact with my feet, so the stretch is going down the left. Walk all the way over, and then I pick up the left hand, sit it on top of the right. And from there I'm going to push my breath down my left hand side. So I'm going to inhale and then exhale. Pushing that stretch all the way down that left side to open it out. Then I'm going to walk the hands back to centre. Keeping them away from the body, I'm going to walk them round to the left. So I'm putting the spine into a bit of lateral flexion, giving it a stretch here. If I feel okay, I'm going to lift up the right hand and sit it on top of the left this time. And again, when I inhale, I push the breath down my right side. Then I'm going to walk back to centre. One more reach with the hands, forehead towards the floor. And then you can always release off them that stretch for a moment. Just bring your arms down beside you into your child pose. It helps the back to stretch out. A little bit of stretching through the glutes and hips as well. And again, you can hold that as long as you feel comfortable. I'm going to come up now and do a downward dog. So we've opened out the front of the hips. I'm going to do the hamstrings to help with the back now. So I'm going to tuck my toes and push my weight back, pop my bottom into the air and push my tailbone up towards the ceiling. My knees are still bent. So I'm going to push the tailbone up, and then I'm going to start to straighten the legs one at a time to stretch out those hamstrings. So gently pedaling the feet. You don't need to completely straighten the legs, and you don't need the heel to come all the way to the floor. As long as you get that stretch down the back of the leg, that's all you're after. I'm trying to keep my shoulders down away from my ears rather than sinking forwards towards the floor. Couple more times. And then I'm going to push both heels down. I'm still pushing my tailbone up towards the ceiling so I get that deep stretch down the back of the legs. Hold that for a couple of breaths. Then I'm going to lift up onto my toes and I'm going to bring the right leg forwards. Now you can drop that back knee or keep it lifted, but you're going to bring your right foot towards your right hand. And then you're going to slide it across to your left if you can and drop that right knee to the right hand. Leaving the left toes tucked, you're going to walk that knee away into your pigeon pose. So you can go as deep as you like, but you need to keep your hips square to the floor. Try not to roll onto that right side, okay? Square the hips. When you've got as deep as you can, untuck the toes, push the hips down, lift the chest. So for me, I get a little bit of a stretch down this left leg, but I'm feeling it mostly in my right buttock. For you, it may be the other way around. It depends where you feel tight. You might also get a stretch in the inner thigh as well. So you'll generally feel it where you need it. Now this, you can either stay up here or you can relax towards the floor, either down onto your forearms or your forehead. And again, you're looking to hold this for a decent period of time, but just so long as you relax into it. Okay, if you feel the muscles start to release off, then that's great and you can gently come out, or if you feel they're still tightening and you need to release them a bit further, then you can hold it a bit longer. Remember, take some nice full breaths when you're here. Now to come out of this stretch, you come up onto your hands, you're going to tuck your left toes and you're going to slowly walk that left knee forwards. Slide the leg back and again just rock the hips. We're going to do that again. So we're going to tuck the toes, push the weight back and send the bottom into the air, tipping the tailbone towards the ceiling. Pedaling the legs to start, so stretching out those hamstrings. You might even find that this second time you come up, they feel a little bit looser already. Again, you don't need to straighten the leg completely. You don't need to take the foot all the way to the floor or the heel all the way to the floor. Just wherever you feel the stretch. Then both legs in more of a static stretch. Shoulders away from the ears. You're trying to keep your breath flowing nicely, not holding. Not coming too short or sharp with the breath. And we go up onto the toes and we step forward with the left. You can drop that right knee if you wish. You're bringing the left foot to the right hand, left knee to left hand. So across the body with the foreleg, or the bottom of your leg, and then walking the right leg back so you sink into your pigeon pose. Untucking the toes, square your hips to the floor and push down. So again, I feel it very differently on this side. I don't feel so much of a stretch in the glute, but I do feel it on my the front of my right leg, and that's just because I've got more of a tightness in my right hip. So again, don't be surprised if it feels different from side to side. Again, keeping the hips square, you can either stay up or come down towards the floor. Any way you can feel, you can let the muscles go and completely relax. You don't want to feel like it's too held or that you're bracing against the stretch. Try and relax into it and just let those muscles release. I don't feel as tight on this side. So the front of my right leg is probably where I feel it the tightest, but it's easing off nicely. So I'm going to come out. Again, you can hold it a bit longer if you need to. Coming up, tucking the toes on the right, and then slowly walking that leg forwards, bringing it back so that you are back on all fours, and then we're going to stretch out the spine. So we're going to drop the bottom to the heels, take the hands long, and we're going to wave up through the spine. So we tuck the tailbone, tuck the head, and we curl the way through, all the way till the weight is over the wrists and we can drop the hips and lift the head. Try not to drop your bottom too low if your back is very tight. Stay in more of a plank position. And we go back by nodding the chin, curling the shoulders, upper back, mid back, lower back by tucking that tailbone and going all the way down. We're going to do 2 more like that. So tucking the tailbone, tucking the head as you curl through. It's nice and slow so that you can really articulate the wave or the stretch all the way down the spine. If you rush it, you tend to just stretch those parts of the spine that are easiest to stretch. So you stretch where you're already quite mobile. When you slow it down, you can really focus on those elements of the spine that maybe need a bit more focus to get them to stretch. Okay. Coming all the way back to there. Lovely. And again, you can pause in your child pose and just rest the back from that stretching by coming down. We're going to do another stretch or another bit of mobility work for the shoulders and upper back now. So we're going to slide out onto our sides. I'm going to bring in some cushions. We're going to come onto our side from that position. We're going to bring our knees up so they're level with our hips. And we're going to bring our shins so they're a 90-degree angle. Arms are going to be straight out in front. I'm careful to stack my shoulders. I don't want to be scrunched up. So I'm going to bring that shoulder back. And to bring the spine back to neutral, I just tip the hip away a little bit, so there's a little bit of a gap between my lower waist and the floor. And we're going to do a chalk circle. So we're going to take the fingers in front of those on the floor. We're going to circle round. As we come past the ear, we're going to twist with the upper body towards that moving arm, but my hips are going to stay stacked. I'm not allowing them to roll back and the knees to move. Okay, so keep the knees and the hips still. Sweeping around as close to the floor as you can. I've got a wall in the way, but you try and stay as close to the floor as you can, all the way round to the start. Sweeping around. Following the arm with your eyes, trying to keep it straight. If it doesn't stay in contact with the floor the whole way, that doesn't matter. You need to keep the hips stacked and you just go as close to the floor as you can. Try not to rush them, okay? I know it's tempting when it feels quite stiff to sort of whip through the really stiff parts, but try not to. Try and allow that stretch to occur. And again, you just want to do as many of these as you need to. So some days you might need to do sort of half a dozen to a dozen. Other days you might do 2 or 3 and think, yep, I feel pretty good, I'm moving well, and that's enough. When you've finished, you lift the arm, open out towards the ceiling and enjoy that stretch. You can let the knees and hips go at that point, they don't need to stay stacked. And then we're going to go onto our back. So we're going to pull the knees to centre, shuffle our way to roughly centre of, if you're using a mat. Feet and knees hip distance apart, and we're going to do some hip rolls for the back. It's a lovely stretch for the lower back, allowing the knees to drop to the floor, head going the other way, then pulling back to your centre using your core and going the other way. Pulling back using your core and then allowing the knees to go the other way. Nice and slow and controlled. If you feel you need to, you can leave the knees down for a slightly more static stretch. Or you can keep it moving if you want something more dynamic. Okay, we're going to do a couple more. And then we're going to go straight to the other side with our chalk circles. So we're going to drop the knees down, stack the feet again. This time pull in our core and draw this arm up and over. Adjust yourself so that the shoulder is down away from the ear. Again, you want a nice neutral spine. You don't want to be curled around your legs, okay? So neutral through your spine, knees level with your hips. A little push with your hips so that your waist lifts off the floor and the spine comes back to neutral. And then again, trailing your fingers around as close to the floor as you can, following it with your eyes, over your bottom and around. Again, keeping the knees stacked, making sure that the hips don't start to roll back, okay? Now this is my slightly stiffer side because I'm right-handed and therefore I tend to get stiffer on this side. But I've sort of cheated because I've been teaching already this morning and I'm feeling quite loose through the shoulders. So I can actually do quite well on these right from the start, but usually it takes me a couple of circles to get close to the floor. So it'll depend on what you've been doing as to how stiff and tight you feel. Like I say, I've cheated a bit this morning because I've already done some ability work. So I'm going to finish there. From there, I'm going to push up onto all fours again. And I'm going to finish where I started with a cat-cow stretch. So I'm going to tuck the tailbone, tuck the head, push the spine up. And then lift the head, lift the tailbone. And go back. And again, just do a couple of those, just to bring some symmetry back to the body. A little bit of a stretch for the lower back as well. And I'm going to finish there. And that is a nice way to sort of a combination of hips and back there. I've done the flow, like I say, so that one, that it flows, but also that you stretch certain areas before you do others, which helps the next stretch. So for example, we opened the hips before we started doing the rotation through the upper back, and that helps. Okay, so the opening the hips helps the rotation. If you haven't got the time to do the whole flow, then just pick one or two of those and you can do them in isolation. But I would always suggest doing hips first and then doing rotation if you can. All right. If you're not sure if any of those are suitable for you for whatever reason, obviously message me and I will let you know. Any questions, as always, let me know as well. So enjoy, and I will see you again soon.